started the music just fine, Mr. Michaels, because it's all about the rock and roll. So yeah, holy smokes, that's when I still call myself Cristofo. Meet one of Arizona's best kept secrets as they take the local rock scene by musical storm. Their rhythmic blend of original melodic hard rock exudes with energetic aggressiveness. They perform rock the way it was meant to be, entertaining. You can catch the band's performance and generous audience interaction giveaways at the Mason Jar twice monthly with future gigs pending. Nemesis was formed in September 93 under the name of Desperate Angel, with two original members remaining, Scott Connor, the drummer, and Mike Michaels. Cristofo Dunham joined in March of 96. William Richard Carr III was added in August 96. Since November 96, the band has performed with Tony McAlpine's Sacred Reich twice. Enough's Enough and Catfish. Dude, that's pretty fucking cool, man. I wonder if that number still works, 9431935.
That was mine, wasn't it?
That was before the 480 and 602 nonsense, man. That was just like, you had 7 digits. That was it.
And that was not a cell phone, cool. Ladies and gentlemen. That was my answering machine. So what he read there
Bands
was what
influences include. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was just kind
of. Go ahead, sorry.
So what he's reading there is what the club.
Oh, yeah. No, I interrupted you. Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
I was just
right on.
I'll let you read on, but he's basically reading a bio that we
no.
Finish
explaining.
To get better gigs. So back in those days, you couldn't get on the club's website and submit your music. You actually had to go there in person and drop off a CD or a cassette. Mm-hmm. We usually had CDs in those days, but so you left them a CD and you left them a bio, and the better your bio got, the better the gigs got. So at this point, we had opened for 3 national acts or 4 national acts on that particular bio. So we were getting a lot better gigs at bigger places with bigger audiences. And you were reading our influences. Who were our influences at that moment in time? I don't remember.
Some of the band's it's okay. Some of the band's musical influences are Candlebox, Metallica, Led Zeppelin, The Doors, and Van Halen. And the irony of that, we met at Candlebox,
which is
obviously I injected The Doors in that. You know,
yes.
And you Scott, you and Scott were Metallica and Zeppelin. We all liked Van Halen.
Yeah, Scott and I used to play Metallica, man. Before
I like
practice incessantly. We were a little obsessed back then.
I gotta find my bag, man. I have a bag of everything. I keep meaning to look for it, and I haven't.
So that's where this came from.
It's around somewhere, though. It's got all the things.
Same thing. I got a ton of manila folders. Apparently, I was organized back then, and there's all these flyers. So I'm trying to organize them by date, and as they come up, I'll post them on Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
Seemed like people enjoyed that. So
cool.
We'll keep
doing
it,
man. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed reading that. That was fun.
I did too. I found out right before you logged on. I was just leafing through there to see what else was in that folder, and that was the last thing in the folder was that bio.
Right on.
So, damn, we
weren't a secret for too long.
We were not a secret for too long, and damn, we were on top of things.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in a day and age where there was no internet,
No, it existed, but it did not exist in a form that was usable to the consumer.
No, not like it is. Yeah, not like it is now. No way. No way. It was that fun little dial-up. We are. And then you wouldn't get on. You're like, fuck. Gotta do it again.
Or somebody
would
pick up the phone.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Is somebody on here?
Yeah.
Somebody
yeah.
on. Somebody. Hang the phone up. Hang the phone up. Oh shit.
Yep.
I'm disconnected. And everybody had to share one internet.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't have multiple people on at the same time. Not till DSL came along.
Nope.
So I was thinking about that the other day when I was in college. I had a roommate, and someday I'll tell the roommate story because that's a whole story unto itself. I had one roommate that was cool as hell.
Okay. I was going to say.
He was the one that I went out and smoked weed with. And the other roommate, I'm pretty sure, potentially could have been a serial killer, but he had a computer at that time and he was connected to the internet. And he showed me Amazon.com in 1992, maybe. And all it was text. It was hypertext links. There were no pictures. It took fucking forever to load.
Wow.
But if you knew what you were looking for in 1992, you could buy it from Amazon back then.
Yeah.
So Jeff Bezos was so far ahead of his time. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, because I ordered some shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He showed me enough to be able to order. So I've been ordering stuff from Amazon since 1992. I just remembered that story the other day when I was thinking about this crazy roommate I had.
Right on, man. So what do you want to talk about today, Mr. Michaels?
We can go in whatever direction you want, man.
We could talk about my name. It's the guy in shades and Saras ni ug et.
And that part means?
You know what that means, right? It's the guy in shades backwards.
Oh.
See it? It's the guy in shades backwards.
See, for
kind of like my alter ego and
for our listening audience.
In another universe, my name is Maned Cirque.
He changes his name.
We're lapsing over today.
Every time?
Yeah. Every time. Yeah. We're crossing waves today for some reason.
Is there I don't know
if there's a delay or not. We're usually good about I don't know. There's usually not. Usually we don't talk over each other as of late, but it seems like we've done it a few times.
Oh,
today. Is there an echo? Let me know. Let me know if there's an echo on your.
So
I'm frozen.
I'll pose you a question. Are you frozen?
All right, I'll give you an answer. No, I'm not.
You a question.
So not frozen.
This is not necessarily the happiest topic in the world, but I heard this the other day from somebody that I thought I respected, and just in passing conversation. As a parent, which I'm not, this person said, if my son or daughter came to me and told me that they were gay, I would disown them.
Yep. Yeah, that's bullshit.
And it stopped me dead in my tracks. I wasn't even a part of the conversation. I just overheard this.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit.
I don't,
man.
That's harsh because being a parent, I don't care. I could care less.
That's what I'm saying. How could you love somebody less because of their sexual orientation when they came out of their body, or you were responsible for making them in any way, shape, or form?
Agreed. I don't know. Like I always had the thought in my head with my daughter. I could care, and I said this out loud many times. I could care less if she was a high priestess of a Wiccan cult clan with 27 tattoos and 18 body piercings, as long as she could look me in the face and say she's happy. Like, at the end of the day, speaking for myself anyway, I just want my offspring to be happy, regardless of where they're at in life and what they've gone through. At the end of the day, if they're happy, that's all that matters. And then, life is what life is, and there's struggles with everything. There's ups and downs, and anybody that says there's not is just fucking lying. Nikki has someone she knows that on Facebook everything was just roses. Like everything, every week was love you, love this, love that. This couple, it's like you look at them outside looking and you're thinking, holy shit, these two got it figured out, man. They're, never bicker, never argue. They're happy. That's always, smiles and, just the definition in the dictionary of happily married or married. What is it? Happily married. Well, no, happily ever after. Married happily ever after. Fuck. These people were the epitome. Then all of a sudden, 1 week goes by and nothing's posted. And then another week goes by, and then all of a sudden, separating because life sucks. He's an asshole. She's a bitch. The whole world came crumbling down and finger pointing this. And it's like, okay, well, instead of living in a fairy tale, like we've said it before, be real, be relevant, be raw. I don't care. I could care less if either one of my kids came out and said, hey, I'm gay. Okay, that's cool. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. It doesn't matter. It's not a reflection on who I am. It's not a reflection on the parents at all. And that may be where that matter? Person was going with that, because I know it doesn't to me, but that's a minor, that's a very small scale, I think, on a global world population.
I don't think that's too much to ask somebody to evolve.
Open-mindedness. I don't either. But
you're literally their parent.
It's still one of those things, man.
We're whittling it all the way down to you are their parent. This is not just any random person. You're their fucking parent.
Yeah.
I would disown them.
Yeah.
Unfucking. It's 2024, man.
I don't get that.
I didn't understand it in 1984.
Oh, it is 2024. That's crazy.
As an 11-year-old kid.
And I know people now, right? No. And I know people now that I knew in high school. Right. Well, that's the thing. Nothing makes them different, because I legitimately know people now still that I knew in high school. In high school, you knew they were gay, but it was obvious, but it wasn't discussed because Correct. Of the hatred and the bigotry. And, like we have a kid that got his ass beat. That's the wrong way to say it. We had a kid that was jumped at a party in the valley, close to where I live. And he was beaten to death by 4 or 5 kids. You're never going to know why they beat him to death. And I'm not making any innuendos about why they beat him to death. There's a group called the Gilbert Goons that are finally being tracked down and arrested and charged and shit. But he was a teenager, and these were all teenagers. A couple of them were over 18, but on a whole, it was a group of teenagers, pouncing on a kid that was in a weak, vulnerable state, whatever that was, and beat him to death. And you'll never know why, because nobody was there except the kid that was beaten to death and the kids that were doing the beating. Well, the beating that was administered, they're not going to stand up and say, this is why we beat him. They're not going to admit to anything, because now they're all lawyered up.
That's terrible,
but that shit's not going away, and it's just going to get more and more. It's going to get more and more prevalent as we continue our lives, because, and this isn't a slam on parenting, but like when we were growing up, you could have a one parent stay home while one parent worked. Yeah, you can't have that anymore. It's financially, it's impossible. So, when we were latchkey kids, nowadays the parent would be arrested for child neglect and all that kind of shit, because they're gone from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the kid's fending for themselves, going to school, coming home from school, making them dinner and shit.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
And I just don't see. No, but they do.
They made rules.
They just don't advertise it. But I just, like today, I was coming back from dropping Little Man off this morning, and it just, one of those weird little moments in your head where there's a little girl walking. She's got a little backpack. She can't be, 6, 7 years old. It's hard to tell how kids are, any more days, but right. She's got a little water bottle in her hand, backpack, and she's turning the corner. And I look back, I'm like, where the fuck are the parents? Like, granted, she's in a neighborhood. She's a quarter mile from the school, but she's walking that sidewalk alone. There's no right.
It's a whole different world.
Fucking way I would. That's what I'm saying. There's no way I'd let little man walk down. I mean, if I could have eyes on him from point A to point B, and he wanted to be independent, I want to walk to school. Okay, I'm watching him. the whole time, when he gets to that level.
100%.
But this little girl, man, there was nobody that came around that corner, just her, and there was the school, and I was just like, and it struck me as like, wow, that's messed up. Like if anybody, we had, when we were growing up, it was the van, the Chester the molester thing, remember? And you never go to a van, you never get offered candy and shit like. Right, exactly. And you're a kid, man. You that was drilled into your head. Like, don't talk to strangers. None of that shit.
Right.
It would take nothing for somebody to slowly roll up and just grab that kid and be done. And that's the scary thing. That shit happens all the time, more than people realize, because they don't share it with the world. Like, they don't share these kids getting beat up and shit with the world until something tragically has to happen. Something monumental has to happen. This kid, Preston, got this just beat to death, and all of a sudden it's news. But it's been going on forever because this group, the Gilbert Goons, they've been around forever. It's not like they just started when they jumped this kid. And
how long ago did this happen?
People just need to, within the last 6 months.
Oh, okay. This is super recent.
Yeah. It's, maybe even sooner, maybe even shorter time frame. I don't watch the news, so I just pick it up on Instagram. With Arizona Family has a little thread. They drop little snippets, but I literally have not sat down and watched a newscast since 2007, start to finish. Every now and then I'll watch the weather.
Correct.
But I just don't, But that goes back to what we were kind of talking about, the way the world's evolved. It's not evolving for the better, because even now, kids that come out to your parents, like they said, the parents disown them. Then what? Then they're homeless. Then they're on the streets. And then they're doing what? They're turning into selling their bodies to be able to put a roof over their head. And it's a slippery slope, man.
Well,
love is love. It's not, if it comes out of your body with you, and it's something. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll agree with you and I'll disagree with you. So I agree with you that the illusion that, at least for whatever demented reason, the government and the media would like you to believe that things are getting worse. But at least in a little tiny way, if I can change, there's hope for everybody, because I ended up being the most negative son of a bitch there ever was before I flipped a switch and did a 180 and decided that, that was going to kill me, thinking that way. I have hope that anybody that goes through the darkest period of their life, like we did, where, death was an option on many occasions, more than we could count, and more than most people have ever thought about. If you can come out of that and end up being the people that we are sitting here trying to plead with the rest of the world, that love is the answer. It's the hardest, easiest thing that you'll ever do, but by far the most rewarding. Because as soon as I changed my mindset and started being kind to people I didn't even know, that's what changed my life. It wasn't being kind to the people that already knew me. That was easy. But to start being kind to the lady at the grocery store that's only got 2 things that I was a dick before, and I'm like, I'm here first, and I'm like, you go right ahead, and she's 80 years old. And it's like, thank you very much. What a kind young man. That changed her day, Those are the kind of moments that I'm looking for every day. I love those moments.
Agreed. Those are good moments. Making somebody smile for lack of, just
for no reason at all.
Right.
Just to leave them better than you found them,
Yeah. And it could change the path of their day just by opening somebody's door for them and holding it open,
I encounter way more good people than I do bad people. So is it really getting worse, or is it the illusion that we're being spoon-fed? Because they only tell you the bad things.
Well, and again, I don't watch the news. Yeah. Right.
So even not watching
the news. I watched this. You'll be proud of me. I watched this snippet from... Right. You'll be proud of me. I watched a snippet of Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how the media shares the same thing across the country, and they had little snippets of different newscasts, and all the reporters were essentially saying the same thing across the board.
That's where I heard it at the first time.
There was no real variance aside from. Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really any
YouTube
variance except the delivery. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gets up to like 600 of them, right?
Yeah.
Independent local newscasts.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with one, then they double it,
insane.
it gets up to like 600, and they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, and it's sad. The media controls the world now, which it shouldn't, but it's true, unfortunately.
And it's entertainment. They don't have to tell the
bashing
truth.
On the. Yeah. Mm-mm. No.
So that makes it propaganda, which makes it sound like what?
Yep.
You live in the illusion of a democracy. That's why I make fun of the whole presidential process. Yeah. It doesn't fucking matter. If we can't get to the point in a conversation where we can agree that it doesn't matter who's sitting in that chair, we're never going to agree on anything because it really doesn't fucking matter. This country was bought and paid for.
It doesn't. It's
probably 30 years ago. As soon as lobbyists came into the picture, it was all over because those senators and those congressmen are going to do whatever they need to keep that donation coming back in, to keep the reelection campaign, to stay in that office, to not have to do anything other than suck on the American taxpayer. Right?
Yep.
The system just needs to change.
It does. It does.
So we need to get some positive people in there. And I am proud of you for listening to a snippet of the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun, man. He makes me laugh.
I'm hearing something. Oh, that's a bird. I thought I heard Little Man. It's a bird. Yeah, he is funny. I remember Joe Rogan from News Radio, man. You know, where he was the maintenance guy.
When he had hair.
You know, stupid little bits. Stupid little, you know, just walk on the scene and some, you know. But yeah, he was funny. And then the fact that he's evolved from that to the UFC dude, and now he's, you know, it's amazing what people can do when they have a door open for them and they just go charging forward, you know.
And that whole thing for him was just a complete accident. It was something he wanted to do. He thought he could do it. It started off just as a kind of a joke. And the next thing you know, there were 1,000 people listening, and there was 10,000. Now he's got like, I don't know, 12.5 million downloads a month or something. He outperforms every major news organization like 10-1, maybe 100-1.
That's insane.
I'm pretty sure.
I think that could be said with. Yeah, I think more and more people are getting off of mainstream media to try and find what's going on in the world today. It's like I'd love to dive into the dark web, but I'm afraid to go into the dark web because once you go in the dark web, I have this thing in my head that once you open that box and like you're exposed and everybody can track you and get your information, and all of a sudden you're 27 different credit cards and fraud all over the world. But I think the dark web would be really cool to kind of go into for a few hours just to kind of snoop around it as a voyeur and just see all the rawness of life that could be bustling in there. I don't know if that's the right phrase.
So
or the right term.
I would like to see somebody that knows the dark web in action as well as you and I can perform in a rock band. Like a pro level.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I want to see it really work is what I'm saying. Like a true master. One of them fuckers that's sitting there typing that would 200 words a minute,
Yeah.
Just writing lines of code like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, they're out there too,
But there's a lot of stuff on there you do not want to see because that's where people are bought and sold,
Agreed. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's the darkness of it. I'm not talking about that dark side of it. Just, you know, the unfiltered reality of the world, kind of like, dystopian society living underneath the streets, there's a whole underground world, you know, but it's online. So what do you want to talk about today? Since we went dark for a minute there.
I think we're doing it.
Okay,
That's
we're
all
talking.
good, man. Yeah,
talking about darkness.
that's what we do.
Shadows.
Sometimes it takes a turn.
It is.
That's all good.
It'd be interesting to see what people, if people chime into this and how they would react if their child came out of the closet and said, "Hey, I'm not this, I'm that." I don't have a problem with the gay lesbian thing at all. I think the trans part of it could be a little bit weird because you have to look back. To me, something somewhere along the lines of their upbringing had to have messed with them to not identify with who they are and how they were born, and it's that part I don't completely understand. I'm not bashing it. I just don't understand that part of it.
So I would say on that, I would say on that level, I would just make just make sure that person is okay. If they're my kid, make sure that they're mentally okay.
Yeah.
If they seem like the exact same person, only they're going to be that way, I'm definitely not going to understand it because, I would have been that way if I understood it, is the way I always look at it. I don't get it, but I can accept it on the same level I can accept a lot of the things that don't affect my life. You just got to say to yourself, does this affect me? And as long as that person is mentally okay, in that case, I would make sure they were mentally okay. I guess that's where I'm going.
A good... Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. That's a good way to look at that.
Seems weird.
Yeah, and it's not, and I'm again not bashing it at all. It's just, gay, straight, bi. Those are those three little things, and I just, when somebody goes to the point to where they're having surgery to remove an appendage or to create genitalia, I think somewhere along the lines they were just monumentally screwed within the head somewhere. I mean, I could be completely wrong, right?
Or abused.
But I just, you are who you... Right, that's what I mean. Somewhere along the lines, they had to have been fucked with at some level to have just a dramatic shift in their thinking, and because it comes down to your self-esteem. All of that comes down to self-esteem and your insecurities. Everybody's insecure at some level. Everybody has self-esteem issues at some level. Nobody's... I don't care who you are. Nobody's walking tall and, the outside looking in, like that Facebook thing I shared earlier. Everybody's fragile. Everybody's been shaken to their core. You know what I mean? Like, I could think of 2 or 3 things now that would just completely fuck my world up to the fact that wouldn't even be a hesitation of me going back down the drinking route just to bury one of those 2 things happen. And I'm not even going to say them because it's that left side of a holy shit moment. What would trigger me to go back down that path? And there's only really 2 things that could do that. No. And so, but that's my point, is that everybody's fragile, man. There's something. Like, you can ask somebody, like, what's your greatest fear? Oh, public speaking is the number one greatest fear ever. It's like people have come to terms with dying, because why not? You live, you die. There's no way around that shit. Although I have been following some vampire stuff on Facebook that's interesting. Don't know if it's real or not because I haven't met one of them yet. But if I do,
let me know how that works out.
Bite me and see if I come back. Yeah. Teach his own, man, but like, it's legit. I stumbled on it. It was one of those weird things, man, that how your phones listen to you, like when you're sitting around, like what the fuck was it? Oh, there was something that I said that had absolutely no relevance on our lives, but it was something I looked for, and I mentioned it to Nikki, and then all of a sudden her Facebook feed showing that shit. I'm like, well, that's because I said something about it, which is just weird. But I said something about, there was something, I think Interview with a Vampire got dropped on Netflix or something, and I said that out loud. Within
a day, man, I started to have vampire shit on my feed. I'm like, well, this is a trip. And I've always been kind of, you know, I like the dark side of shit. You know, I'm the guy that
We
I
have that
love,
in common. You know
well, this
that.
is, you know, don't take me literally. Right. The serial killers and the macabre and the darkness
Yep.
and that stuff's just fascinating for me. For more than anything, you take a normal human like myself or yourself, and then and somewhere along the lines, there's just something that just treat just pushes the button, like the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas. Great
I
fucking movie.
love
Remember
that
that
movie,
Remember
dude.
Falling Down?
I fucking love that movie.
Right.
If you don't love that movie,
Right.
you are
The
not a
license plate
deep
defense.
tanker at all.
No, right. But that's
Brilliant.
That's like normal everyday guy, and then boom, you know, something just triggered him, and that was it, man. He went this way, and there was no looking back. So that's what fascinates me. I almost said fantasize. It was the wrong word. Fascinates me about serial killers and mass murders is not so much what they did, the act of it. It's like what got them there. What was the thing that made them turn? You know, because a lot of it, you know, 20 years ago was attributed, like everybody was like, if, you know, when we were growing up, the pedophiles themselves were abused as children. So, you know, once an abuser becomes the abusee becomes the abuser type thing. That's that vicious cycle. Well, obviously that cycle's changed in life. You know, I was fucked with for a couple of years, and I didn't grow up to be that dark, twisted, you know, pedophile, child molester, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, because
But you could have.
I had outlets. But there's people that don't have outlets. Absolutely. You know, that's the thing. It's like I had the outlet of the writing and stuff that I think kind of put all that in check. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I drank, and without knowing it, because I didn't realize why I was drinking when I was drinking. I'll turn my fan off. But you know, looking back, I mean, I'm 19 years sober in 10 days. So it's one of those things that there was something that caused me to get out of control with drinking. There's something that causes anybody to get out of control with substance abuse. It's not you wake up one day, oh, you know what? Today's a good day. I'm going to go get some ecstasy and see how my day works with that.
Actually, that's
not, you know, the general public doesn't do that.
Hold on. That's a bad example. That is the one drug that
Okay.
you buy to see how your day goes with that.
Okay.
Just
okay.
nobody wakes up
Okay.
and buys
So
some heroin to see how their day's going to go with that.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm.
Ecstasy is made just for that.
Nobody just decides. Oh, okay. See, that shows you my ignorance of you know, my level of understanding of drugs is marijuana, and then what we had a family member go through that I watched firsthand. Other than that, you know, I had a guitar player, not you. One night after practice, we went and picked up, or before practice, I think, we picked up this guy to come join us, and you know, I was sitting out front waiting. I finally went in. I'm like, what are you fucking guys doing? And they're sitting there, you know, smoking crystal meth, which I didn't know that's what they were smoking at the time. But I was just like, really? Like, I just, you know, I know you went through the battle of meth and stuff. We weren't connected during that struggle, but it's just.
No, that was after the.
You and I both understand addiction. Right. You and I both understand addiction. We both understand how it can get out of control. But seeing that person do that, I mean, you know, he was, you know, if I'm standing, you know, we're kind of there, and it just, and it's just like, really? And it's just slippery slope ever since for that individual, from what I've heard.
Well,
which is sad.
I'm actually glad you didn't have to see that from me.
All musicians are talented. Yeah, I am too. Because I don't think it would have changed our relationship. I probably would have been like, what the fuck, and kind of tried to put you in your place. Like, what are you fucking doing? Because, you know, what people don't understand, unless you've been in a band, the time you spend together, it's on a very intimate level, because you're very vulnerable being in a band, because as a songwriter, I'm bringing out the darkness and I'm laying that down in front of three musicians saying, hey, this is what I wrote. What do you think? And the vulnerability that comes with that, because you don't know how your bandmates are going to accept something you write, especially when it's something that's deep rooted and, dark and super interpersonal. So there's got to be that massive level of trust. That's why a lot of people refer to bands as a marriage, right? Because you have that massive trust and you have that massive vulnerability, and it all has to gel in order for it to work. So unless you've been in a band and experienced that, like we were lucky enough to have, you don't understand the concept of, if I saw you smoking crystal meth, like straight up, I'd love you still as a brother, but I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, what the fuck? Or how is this appealing?
You would have done.
I wouldn't understand that part of it.
You would have done the same thing my own brother did, and he called me up and confronted me. So, if you had known, you'd have done the same thing he did. He knew, and he couldn't just sit there and not do anything. And God bless him, or whatever you want to say. That night he just decided that he got enough courage in him and said, hey, I know what you're doing, whether you want to admit it to me or not. I just want you to know that I know that you're not fooling anybody. So it meant a lot to me. I didn't clean myself up at that moment in time, but thinking back on it, those are the kind of things that at least for a minute I knew somebody cared, and you don't know how much that means to a person that is that far down, that really has no one. I had no one at that point that really I trusted to,
which is bad.
Yeah. Because there were people that would have helped me. You, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother. I mean, it's not like I didn't have options. I had options. My aunt, my uncle, like there were my cousins, there were all kinds of options. But to me, I was so disappointed in myself that to ask for help from someone that I respected on a level that you just described wasn't an option. Because I would have felt like such a fucking failure. Pride, man.
And that's the hammer, right? Oh, exactly. It's the shame. It's the absolute shame when you wake up and you realize, fuck. Like when I woke up the day after the last time I was just completely hammered. It was that I woke up and I just knew. I knew in my bones, like, what the fuck did I do yesterday? Because I didn't remember all of it, but I remembered enough of it to know something has to change. And that was just the simplest form in my head. Just something has to change. And it wasn't a long drawn out. I mean, it was within 48 hours, man,
Yeah.
I stopped. Everything was poured out, flushed down poured down the sink. Saved one shot, one beer. I can still see it standing in the kitchen on the house on extension. I hit that shot while looking out the kitchen window, seeing the backyard. Let that kind of just absorb, and then nurse that beer, knowing it was the last beer I was ever going to have again in my life. That had alcohol in it, mind you, because now, by the grace of all things, microbrewery, Heineken, and 0.0. But that's the thing; it's the shame. It's, and you can relate because you were there. It's the amount of vulnerability that it takes to come clean for an addict, knowing that everybody you talk to has every right in the world to fucking beat you down for what you put them through. Yeah. And they, for the most part, they don't. If they truly love who you are and care who you are about you, they just embrace that. And
I couldn't agree with that statement more.
Right. They're like in their head, like I'm sure Nikki was like, fucking, it's about time. But it still took months, if not a year, to actually come to terms that I could be rationalized with. I could be talked to. I could have a conversation, and I wasn't just shaking my head, like I was involved in it. There was dialogue, I'm sure you were the same way. It's like and then you start waking up and you're like, the first day you wake up, it's like, fuck, this sucks, because you still ache and you still have that desire. And then the next day, and the next, that's the whole thing, one day at a time. Win the day, win the week, win the month, so get 5 out of 7 days where you can function without really harboring on the chaos that's going on in your brain, because it's fucking chaotic, right? When you stop, it's a battle, man. You got the physical aspect, you got the psychological aspect, you got the little triggers. Like, I can't watch baseball on TV anymore because it triggers me to want to drink. I used to just sit there and pound beer watching the Diamondbacks. I can't do it anymore, So it had to be the same with you once you stop with just the triggers, and every day was a different day, and every day was a struggle for one reason or another. It was never the same, right?
That's why I moved back here.
Ah,
in my mind,
that makes sense.
So we discussed, I think the last podcast or the one before that you and I were gonna continue on, put another version of Nemesis together.
Yeah,
we did that. We started, succeeded to some level, and then for one reason or another, I probably wasn't ready. Who knows? A lot of people weren't ready. It was too soon into my recovery. I haven't really processed that moment in time, so I'm not quite sure what I was thinking. I probably wasn't thinking very clearly, to your point.
Yeah.
Shortly after that,
right,
I started talking to a good friend of mine that I went to school with back here, and they found me on Facebook. We're going to leave them as a they. There's no reason to break in anonymity, because I want to be able to keep telling these stories on some level, and it's nobody else's business. So they found me on Facebook, and the people that know the story know the story. But anyway, I had discussed how my relationship with my parents was not good, and right there that stopped them in their tracks, and they were heartbroken because they were also very close with my mom, for sure, because they worked together. So hi mom. They pleaded with me to come home just to visit. So I agreed.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to come back here for a 2-week vacation in 2009. And when I got here, I was all intent on coming back to Arizona at the end of that 2 weeks. And by about day number 10, like you said, that voice in my subconscious started getting real loud. And basically, I knew that if I didn't slow myself down to a crawl, that I was either going to lose my mind or go back to that kind of lifestyle. So this fits. A lot of people.
When you left Arizona, how long were you clean when you left Arizona, or how long were you clean when you left Arizona?
About 14 months.
Okay.
16 maybe.
That's
about
good.
a year and a half.
You had
maybe.
some foundation of some.
I did.
That you were clean.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And that's
100%. What was the determining factor? Yeah. I figured 100%, no pot, nothing. So what was the deciding factor, being sober that amount of time and then going home for what was going to be 2 weeks, and then, like you said, day 10, like just something went off in your brain and said, whoa, like what were you afraid of in returning? Was it you didn't, because obviously when you got clean, you had to change your surroundings, right? Aside from where you were living, you changed who you hung out with, things like that, correct?
Correct. That's when I moved back in with Kevin.
Yeah.
And he basically...
Which Kevin grounded you.
He did. And basically he saved my life, because he gave me a place where there was no judgment. There was just get well. attitude, you know. I will give him credit that
Yeah.
he cared about me
Yeah.
on a human level, and that's why I'm sitting here talking
Yeah.
to you. So at the point that I came here, I needed to evolve. What he didn't understand and why he got mad is that it was a very violent exit, but it had to be that way because I had to evolve to the next level, and the next level was being a functioning member of society. Because what a lot of people that know me now don't
Right.
understand is that is so hard for me that they have no idea how hard that is to be a functioning member of society, because I don't think that way. I don't want to be a robot at the factory.
No.
I don't want to be
No.
counted on to do something at a certain moment in time all the time, which to let my friend here know why I'm so understanding when he's got business and he's like, I'm going to be a half hour late or I'm going to be an hour late. I'm always like, whatever, dude, man, whenever you're ready. You know, I allow for that time because you have a different life than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason to get upset or mad about things that have no control. I just appreciate that you communicate with me. That's all we need. When you got communication, you got everything, right?
Wait, man, why do you think I got into real estate? Right, but why do you think I got into real estate? Real estate is never the same. No client is the same. No trajectory is the same. I'm the same way, man. I could not. So reason I couldn't finish, or I didn't finish school, which college. I didn't. I got tired of paying for knowledge. I'm like, this is fucked up. Why do I have to pay for knowledge? Knowledge should be free, you know? So I get that. I'm not a 9-to-5er either. Never really was, you know. Even when I worked in the group homes, that was never the same. That's why I like that job, because every day was different. Every single day was different, man. Cause you didn't know if this guy was going to go off and this guy was going to rip off the fucking insulation from water heater. Was this guy going to lift a bird bath in the backyard and throw it over his head? Was this guy going to punch this guy? It's just, they were adults like us, but mentally 7 years old. And it never was the same, ever. I mean, it was always something that made that day unique. And that's why I like that, because it was never mundane. So I get exactly what you're saying.
So the thing that does it for me, I'll give a shout out just in general to the people that I've met there that have become some of the most hyper loyal friends I've ever had in my life. That's what makes it tolerable, is knowing at least there's people you can commiserate with. And one of those people talked me into doing this, or at least attempting to do this, and come to find out, I guess we're pretty good at it, because I keep getting a lot of positive feedback and a lot less constructive criticism.
Which is good.
I think we might be onto something. And you and I usually are.
That's because
it always starts out rough around the edges.
You know,
it's because he moved his mic. Yeah,
everything does.
It's going to push us over the top.
Yeah, everything. Everything, man. Like, you know, first band practice was, everything starts out rough. Everything.
And I think that harkens back to what you just said a minute ago, in that to bear your soul as a creative artist, you do have to start somewhere. And the first asshole that says, I don't know, man, the lighting's no good. I'm like, well, you got to start somewhere, man. You know? Well, I don't know if the sound needs a little bit of, we're working on that. We're going to get there. You start your podcast and I'll constructively criticize you too, you know? I hear the same things you hear. I've been in the music sound business. I'm just talking to the constructive criticism people in general, not you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
it was,
no, I know. I understood that.
Some of the most
that's part
obvious things.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, that's all. That's how everything evolves, though, man. Nothing. The first poem I ever wrote was in a high school English class. We had to write a ballad for Mrs. Christensen's English class, and I don't remember what it was, but I got an A. I'm like, what the fuck? I got an A, you know? Like I didn't put forth very much effort in school because I didn't like it. I had more fun in school. My buddy Todd and I, you know Todd, we talked about him. He
Yep.
and I weren't in it. We weren't cliquey, so we knew everybody, man. We hung out with the stoners and the jocks and the
Me
geeks
too.
and the social outcasts because we just had fun. Like it wasn't anything that there's nothing that he and I couldn't do in high school because we didn't give a shit. It's that Tom Cruise line of risky business. Sometimes you got to say, "What the fuck."
Exactly.
You're a geek. I don't care if you were a nerd. Fucking help me with algebra, man. That was the approach. Like I didn't look at somebody. I had my moments because we're all assholes at certain times in high school. I remember I was addicted to this dude that lived down the street from me, and I remember that to this day. He said hi to me, and I thought I was too cool for him, and I ignored him. He said hi again, I ignored him, and he walked away. And I've never felt good about that my entire life. And if I can ever find him, man, I would like straight up apologize for being a dick. And it was just one of those moments where I thought I was better than somebody else, and I truly wasn't. And it's one of those little things that just eats at your soul. And it's so out of my character and so not who I am. But for whatever
You've
reason,
made
that
up
day,
for
I
that
was
a
just-
million
I was just
times
feeling
over.
like a fucking asshole. Oh, I know, but it's just one of those things that it's
get
that
it.
thing in the back of your head. Does he got a kill list? Am I on his kill list? Which
I get
isn't really. I mean, I doubt it because he's really, very good family, very strong values and shit. I just was an ass, and I never try to do that with anybody now, and I never really did that after that moment. And it was just one of those things, man. A little spot in time, and I think that's the difference of humanity. The people that recognize that little glitch in the matrix are good humans. The people that don't are the ones that go down that dark path and don't do anything positive for the world, and it's all me, me, me. I have to
agree
do
with
what's
that.
right for me type thing, and I don't. Yeah, I just But yeah, I think going back to what we were talking about, I think that vulnerability comes through when you get on the path of recovery, because you are opening up so many wounds, right? There's so many wounds and so many people you fractured along the way, and there's no way to remember everybody you fractured because it's almost impossible, especially when you get to that level of you're just in your own world, and it's just like you against the world, and your entire presence is about getting high, or for me, and I never got drunk. That's what kind of sucked for the most part. I would get comfortably numb, and I had such a tolerance for it that
was
once
my
I'd get
problem as
comfortably
well.
numb, I'd go to sleep, and I wouldn't wake up with a yeah, and I wouldn't wake up with a hangover because for every 6-pack I drank 44 ounces of water. Like, so I'm always just being in Arizona, man. You're just so conditioned to drink water all the time. So, seldomly woke up hungover,
Well, I can remember one night in particular where I had resigned myself to the fact that I was never going to get well. So I was just done.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to do as much shit as I can do. And I'm going to stay up for as long as I can stay up until I die.
Yeah. Wow.
I was not, apparently that was not why I was put here, because I gave it the old college try. I was up for, I remember starting on a Sunday, and I remember Saturday.
Yeah.
I lost a day in there somewhere.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow.
I just kept going and going and going, unbeknownst to anyone else but me, because once again, I hit it well. But that was my idea was, I'm like, I'm done. It was too much. Psychologically, it was too much. Physically, it was too much. It was just too much. I was done. And then I was pissed that didn't work.
It's draining. It's draining being right. It's draining being an addict, man, because all the shit you have to hide. I would hide, which it wasn't really hidden. I put a bottle of Jack in a brown bag in the garage freezer behind a bag of ice, thinking I was being slick. She knew it was there. I would hit her. She had this Sky vodka that tasted like citrus and another flavor. And I would hit that, and then genius that I am, right? Genius that I was, I'd add water to it. So, lo and behold, we're having a party
Nobody will notice.
weekend, and pull the vodka out of the freezer. Like, hey, Nikki, why is this vodka frozen, man? Just stupid shit that you don't think in your head. You're rationalizing. Well, okay, if I do a couple shots of this vodka, I got to fill it back up with something so she doesn't know I'm drinking it. Like, you don't even think about the fact your pores are exuding booze. You're sweating Jack Daniels and Budweiser, but nobody's gonna notice, man. It's one of those. It's just it's. That's the one thing I'll tell you. When I finally got sober, when I was I'd say, a month away from it, I hit that wall of just exhaustion where I slept a lot. I just slept, and I slept good, and I slept through the night because I was no longer withdrawing for the most part. I still had those urges every day for years, man. 3:00 would come up and then my mouth would start salivating because that's when I'd get home, because that's where I had to start taking care of the kids. And I'd hit, this is going to sound bad, but I'd hit from the freezer Jack. I'd mouthful of that, go polish off 3 beers, finish whatever I had to do before she took off, and I kind of took control of everything about 5:00. And I'd been drinking for 2 hours, but I wasn't out of control. I was, because I had such a tolerance that I just survived, and everything was fun. I was fun dad,
And that was my problem.
Shit I missed, Yeah.
Until the bitter end, I just maintained all the time. I could hang with the best of them.
Yeah.
And the problem is I was partying with the day shift and the night shift. And that's where speed became your best friend. Was, I had a group of people I was supposed to be working with. And then I had a group of people that I was supposed to be putting a band together with. So I'm going all day and all night, and you can only do that for so long before it grabs you and won't let you go. And that's a brutal addiction. That's not something that's the other thing is I'm lucky I survived the recovery because I just quit, man. And I got super sick for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure I was going to make it through that.
I think it speaks a lot volumes of your character and your will to just stop on a dime. Because I stopped on a dime too, like just ripped it off like a Band-Aid. I knew I had to stop, so I stopped. I did the same thing.
Well, I have amazing willpower, man.
I don't remember what year. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So it's just you reach that moment where that's the thing for people that listen to this. You cannot tell an addict to stop. They won't listen to you. They will put up their defenses. They'll build a wall. And that wall will keep you from being able to penetrate and get through to them at any other time in the future. So
they will not talk to you anymore.
You have to listen to them. You have to talk. Right. So best advice is you love them. You listen to them. You have conversations with them. You don't enable them. Don't give them, don't give them money. Don't give them access to booze and shit like that. You just, whatever their demon is, just be there for them. And eventually they will come around to you and they will start opening that can of worms that, I had a shitty day. I woke up, felt like crap because of da-da-da-da-da. That's your invitation to start talking. That's your invitation to start having a dialogue without pointing fingers. It's a slippery slope and it's hard to do. Nikki could tell a complete stranger / regular, you've had too much. And they would listen to her. She'd cut them off. Back then, call them a cab. They go home from the bar.
That's a gift.
She probably told me till she was blue in the face, you drink too much. Right. You're blue in the face. You drink too much. You drink too much. Oh, I'm fucking fine. You have no idea what you're talking about. I've only had 3. Well, I really had 10, It's just, you lose counting. Alcoholics are great at counting, but they count the alcoholic way. So, they lose track after about 3. And then that seems to be the magic number as they continue drinking for the evening. Well, I've only had 3 because that's the last thing you remember having. It's a slippery slope, man. Don't do it. You just don't do it. If you
For the listening audience at home that's playing along with Mike is a recovering addict, and he's always drinking and talking about smoking pot, I don't have a problem with either one of those, in case you're concerned. And nobody loves life
Right.
more than I do. And nobody at this moment in time, and nobody is happier to be doing a podcast with somebody that he called his brother and shared the stage over 1,000 times with. I love life, man.
Damn straight.
And I have rules.
Yeah.
So like during the week, and anybody that knows me on a level that you do now, that lives around me, that knows me, they know that I have serious rules. Like during the week, I'm drinking this beer right here, and I'm going to have one with my dinner, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm done. And I never deviate from that unless it's a Saturday night and I'm out at the bar, and, 2-3 times a year, I might go crazy. Yeah. But on a regular basis, I just started to realize that I like catching a buzz, but I don't like feeling like shit. So the same 180 switch that flipped in you and I that caused us to get well, it almost, I had that same kind of epiphany where, like, I like feeling this way. So why don't I get to that point and not ever do any more? Because there's no reason to do more. More leads to bad things, right? I learned how to have fun with it, is what I'm getting
It's
at.
kind of like that thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's I get it. It's like that's, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night when you're on the road.
Correct.
Nothing good. If you're leaving their house at 10 o'clock, that's way too fucking late. Nothing's good's going to happen that night.
When Mom/K listens to this, she's going to love you, because she always said nothing good happens after midnight. So now she's going to say, oh, well, you know what?
Oh, right on.
Big world famous rock star, legend, singer of Nemesis says nothing good happens after 10 o'clock, kids. It's your ass home. It's your ass home, 10 o'clock. Oh, yeah, she'll love that.
Especially if you're just leaving the house, like, what the fuck? Why are you just leaving the house at 10 o'clock? Jake does that shit, but he has a purpose. He's going. We know where he's going. He's not going when he's in town. Obviously, when he's on leave, he's just going to friends. He's not going out. And if he's gonna go out like he went when he was here, he went to downtown Scottsdale a couple times with his buddies. Well, that's like 6-7 o'clock. They leave. They're going out. But yeah. Unless you have a purpose to leave the house after 10, nothing good happens after 10. You could, I'd rather be at home and be naked with my wife, just saying.
Well, given that option, but I will say when I was Jake's age, I was probably out till 4 or 5.
Yeah.
We didn't get done playing. Yeah, we didn't get done playing gigs till 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes 2.
Yeah. No. And the only reason I would leave is because we had Sky. So, I had to get up,
Yeah.
That kept me from getting in a lot of more trouble, I think.
And then Scott had to go home because he had Carrie and the kids. And then Rick had to go home because he had Carrie. Yep. And then Mike met a bunch of interesting people that he will entertain you with stories on future podcasts about what he did when he left the shows. Because I ended up in some crazy situations.
Yeah. Okay, so next podcast we're going to talk about we're going to have a conversation about Mike's crazy situation. You think about a good crazy situation for next show.
I'll think of a good one.
Yeah. All right, cool.
What do you got for your top 11 list, buddy?
Let's talk about. I have top 11. Let me go back. Where'd you go? Where's Mike Michaels? Top 11 female rock band and or artists. So, and the reason why I say band, because there's all girl bands. Like the Runaways is one of my top because it's the Runaways.
They have to be
all female band, which gave us some of my single women artists, Lita Ford and
Joan
Jett, right? I don't know who else is in that band, but those two went on and had very successful solo projects for females, for sure.
Yes, they did.
Then we have Pat Benatar, Love Pat Benatar. You know, Pat Benatar was I think the third video MTV ever played.
I do. Yes.
I think it was Promises in the Dark. I love female voices, man. They have
Me too.
Women singers are so underrated on a whole, but they have such a dynamic range, and they can get the like. I really like right now, like a couple bands, In This Moment and Hailstorm. Hailstorm's been around a while. In This Moment just came out a few years ago. I just discovered them a couple years ago. But their voices are just, I could just listen to their music all the time because it's just the voice, man. Being a singer, I'm drawn with lyrics and I'm drawn with voice. I'm drawn with the range. And just as weird as it sounds, to be a female singer, like Eddie Van Halen wanted Patti Smythe from Scandal when David left. Remember that?
I do remember that. He was
champion to get Patti Smythe in the band. Yeah. Because the dynamic that she would have brought to the table and the range she would have brought to the table.
You just hit it. The dynamic and the range.
Sammy's range. Yeah. Yeah. And I think Sammy was a good fit after that because Sammy had such a better range than Dave will ever even attempt to have.
Sammy's range was like a chick, for sure. He hit some high fucking notes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It was,
Eddie found his chick in Sammy Hagar.
Next logical choice. Yeah. Right, exactly.
Hey, we got a chick for the band.
And I don't think Van Halen would have been. Yeah, I don't think Van Halen would have been Van Halen had Patti Smythe joined. You know, so I'm sure. David Lee Roth. Yeah, and David Lee Roth and Wolfgang. You know, David's being an ass. You know, like he always is. But I read this article from Blabbermouth about how Dave basically thinks Wolfgang's the piece of shit, and Wolfgang's like, basically saying, "Fuck you, dude." Like. I'm not releasing anything. I'm not doing anything of my dad's stuff because it's not up to me. And it came to light in this interview that Alex is the one.
Yeah, he's holding
Alex is the business, according
to
this
read
article
that.
Anyway. Right. He's the business of the – yeah, okay. So he's the
Yep.
That surprised me that Alex was the business of the band.
Why would that surprise you?
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have expected that because I wouldn't have expected it. I would have thought –
It's the brothers, man.
I would have thought him and Eddie were kind of – well, that's what I'm saying. I would have thought the two-headed monster were completely in control, but the way Wolfgang spun that was it was always Alex. Alex.
Eddie wouldn't have wanted.
Michael did his thing.
Yeah.
Right. Dave did his thing, then Sammy did his thing, and Alex was the one that drove the band. He's like the nonsense I had to do in the bands.
Just like Nemesis, Lars did for Metallica.
Put the shows together. Right. It's just those. I wasn't expecting it, I guess.
I did all that shit in the beginning too, man, but it was like, I didn't want to do any of that, so I eventually hired Dave Glazer as our manager. I didn't want to book all them fucking gigs and handle money and fuck all that. I want to play guitar.
I know.
Just like we'll hire a CFO when Spotify offers us $100 million to do this. Right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So who do you got for your, was that all of them? I think I had, Joan Jett, Pat Benatar, The Runaways, Lita Ford, Janis Joplin. You mentioned Hart, which I don't know how I fucking didn't even think of Hart, man. And Nancy Wilson. I mean, they talk about pioneers, like pioneers in them and The Runaways,
Yes.
I think opened up a lot for female musicians, especially in the rock world. I mean, you have all the pop stuff, but we're not talking about pop because that's a whole nother genre.
They definitely opened a lot of doors
in the top 11 because that's 6, right? That's and that's no specific order at all. But it was the Runaways, Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, Lita Ford, Hart, Janis Joplin. So that's 6.
What about like
throw into this top 11 in no particular order?
What about Stevie Nicks?
Yeah, you have to do Stevie Nicks. She's rock. Fleetwood Mac. I mean, she's not rock. She's not. Well, yeah, because then she did solo, right? She did do solo after doing Fleetwood Mac. So yeah, I would say that she's got a very unique voice. You know Stevie Nicks when you hear it. There's no mistaking that. So she's put her stamp on the industry for sure.
And you made sure to mention Janis Joplin in there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
And she's the only one I could think of from the 60s.
So since Janis is on the list, I'm gonna mention an old one
Yeah.
and a new one. So Grace Slick,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
tied in
What,
with
Jefferson
Grace.
Airplane,
Yep.
or was it Jefferson?
Yeah. It was Jefferson Airplane back then. When they
Okay.
became silly,
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
Jefferson Stars. No.
Yeah. Starship. Yeah. Yeah. Other
Yeah,
way.
what?
Other way.
Fuck, I don't know. Now you got me confused. Anyway,
I don't know. No, it's all good. Just
they
Grace.
they
Slick.
were cool
Yeah.
with Grace Slick and the dude that I can't
Uh-huh.
think of his name either. Anyway,
Mickey.
70s cool.
Mickey Thomas. Mickey,
Yes.
Mickey
Thank
Thomas.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
70s cool,
Yeah.
80s not cool.
Yeah.
Another
Right,
band
exactly.
that is not the same as Hailstorm, but they're a newer band that you should check out is the Pretty
Okay.
Reckless. I love their stuff.
Okay.
So
Oh,
that's
and
that's
then
Taylor
Evanescence was one
Momsen.
that I mentioned. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The
Yeah,
Pretty Reckless. Okay, I'll check.
You'll
them out.
like them. Good
Okay.
grooving music,
And
man.
then I remembered I remember I mentioned Evanescence when we were chatting about that texting. And
That's another great one.
It's a female vocalist, right? Oh yeah, Amy Lee, right?
Yep.
Amy Lee, I think that's her name.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's her.
yeah. So that's what 10? Is that 10, 11? Yeah. So we got Janis Joplin, Grace Slick, Pat Benatar, Runaways, Lita Ford, Joan Jett, Stevie Nicks, Ann and Nancy Wilson / Hart. What am I missing? There's 8.
Taylor Momsen, which is the Pretty Reckless.
Oh yeah, the Pretty Reckless, right? Pretty Reckless. So we got 2 more to round out this 11.
Early rock and roll would be Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're no good.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Where her backing band was the Eagles.
Correct. Got to throw
Before they
her
were
in
the
there.
Eagles. Yeah, Linda Ronstadt. Yeah. What about Tanya Tucker? She was country, but she kind of ended up being mainstream. You know,
If we
She
were going to
kinda
go
ended up
that,
being mainstream, and she had that bad girl side to her.
if we were going to go that far out in left field, I would give Carole King an honorary mention just because she's so cool. Or Karen Carpenter. Karen Carpenter.
Yeah, that's true.
Karen
Yeah,
Carpenter was
there you
amazing.
go. Oh, the Mamas and the Papas from the 60s.
Oh, there you go. That's a good
that
one.
chick. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's
See,
a
we
cool
got-
top 11 female / vocalist bands. you
We
know.
got there.
Right. Yeah, we got there. That's, it's because that's what we do. Well, hey, all right. Well,
It ain't always pretty, but it works.
This is the. It's not. And this is the Chris and Mike show. He's the guitar guy. I'm the guy in shades. And for those of you who don't realize it, just look at that backwards, and it says the exact same thing.
And since I don't have my contacts in, I can't see it.
Exactly. So next show, you're going to come up with one of your post-show adventures, and we're gonna lead with that story.
Right on, man.
I like story time.
We can do lots of story time.
Cool. Good show. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Continue following us. And I still gotta get stuff uploaded to YouTube. I haven't done that, so I'll work on that.
And I apologize. I had no idea that it was going to be the same deal as it is right now. I had like a PTSD moment when I saw 6 hours and 15 minutes or something. I was like, holy shit. I have the slowest upload
what's
connection.
Weird is I download. Yeah, what's weird is I downloaded them and it said it would alert me when they downloaded to the email, but I never got an email saying it was downloaded. So I don't know if it downloaded to your email because I accessed Riverside through your account. So
Oh, yeah, they do come to my email.
So if you want to forward to me, and I'll try that and see if that works.
No, you need to download them to your desktop. I'm going to get, all it does is send me a message that you downloaded it.
Oh,
I don't get the
okay.
download.
All right.
It just sends
All
me
right,
a
I'll try it.
message. So
Oh,
you want
weird,
to
because-
click on
okay,
the
that's weird.
exported file and download it to your desktop and then upload it back to YouTube.
You get that, kids? This is the technical side of the Chris and Mike show.
again, thanks for listening. Thanks for following us on all the socials.
Yeah.
Tell
Thanks
your
for listening.
friends, share with your
Yes.
friends, be kind
Remember
to each other.
Tell your friend. Absolutely.
Everyone love each
Yep.
other. Life's
And
a
you're
lot
not
better that
alone.
way. And you're not
Reach
alone.
out. You have struggles, you're struggling, that kind of jazz. You just reach out. If not us, somebody close to you that's not going to be judgmental asshole. Okay.
Until next week.
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Yeah. Till next week. See you later,
Peace.
Mike Michaels. Peace, brother.